السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. بلغ رسالته وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين ونحن على ذلك من شهداء. أما بعد جزاكم الله خير, my dear respected brothers and sisters. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this gathering and make this gathering for His sake. Brothers and sisters, shall we continue our series to talk about the barriers to our future generation? And today, we're going to be talking about an important subject, which is the importance of having a critical thinking and how to balance critical thinking and doubt. Because sometimes a lot of people are in so much doubt and they doubt everything to the point that they even doubt their existence, you know. So yeah, obviously we live in a time where there's a lot of misconceptions. You know, there's a lot of hearsay. There is a lot of false news that is spreading. Whether it was political, whether it was social, whether it was theories that have pretty much become very common among many people. And it's important, brothers and sisters, that for us to decide how to be critical thinkers, how to make sure that we are not just a sponge that absorbs anything that comes along to us, but make sure that we filter everything that comes to us and make sure that we know how to distinguish the right from the wrong. What is the methodology that we should have in order for us to distinguish the right from the wrong? What is correct and what is not? How to make sure that we inspect ideas, how to make sure that we filter ideas before we adopt them. And unfortunately, brothers and sisters, like I said, we live in a time where there is a lot of opinions, and some of these opinions can be contradictory. People sometimes make all sort of commercials for all sort of things, so people could adopt these ideas, whether they're right or wrong. And we live in a time where there's there's a lot of different types of religion, and people have different types of ideologies, and what is right. It's important, brothers and sisters, among all of this, that Islam, and that's the beauty of Islam, and that's why Islam is considered to be higher up when it comes to these things, that Islam encourage critical thinking, encourage not for us to become slaves to whatever people throw at us, because it stands on what evidence is, and right way of a critical thinking. Evidences is not just any type of evidences that Islam encouraged for us to base each of our ideas based on facts, and these facts must be approached with the right methodologies, which I'm going to be talking about. And after that, you would accept. If you have facts and you have right methodologies, then we accept. And that's what Islam is based on, brothers and sisters. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala many times in the Quran have told us. For instance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَكَذَلِكَ مَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ فِي قَرْيَةٍ مِّن نَذِيرٍ إِلَّا قَالَ مُتْرَفُوهَا إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا عَلَى أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَى آثَارِهِم مُقْتَدِرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we have not sent a prophet before you to each and every village unless people have said the following: we have found our forefathers believing something, and we will follow wherever they came up with. So meaning that Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is criticizing that. Criticizing people adapting ideas just because what? Well, my father have told me so. Because my neighbor have said so. Because that's what is being common. That's what people are spreading in the media. No, just because something is common does not make it right. Just because people have adopted it and people have elected and people have become a majority of to adopt one idea of another, that does not make it right. That does not make it right. So, brother and sister, this is something. It's important for us to have the right way to have critical thinking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قل إنما أعظكم بواحدة أن تقوموا لله مثنى وفرادى ثم تتفكروا ما بصاحبكم بجنة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he told the people, think about the prophet, critically think about him. See if Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is right or wrong. He has all the right descriptions to be a prophet. ثم تتفكروا, think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, when he, you know, uh, telling people, bring forth your evidences. قل هاتوا برهانكم إن كنتم صادقون. Bring forth your evidence. If you make a claim, let me see your evidences. إن عندكم من سلطان بهذا. Do you have any sort of authority of what you're coming up with? You see? So all of these things, Islam encourages critical thinking, encourages that we don't adopt ideas just because someone have said so. It have to be facts, and these facts have to be based on evidences. You know, and for us, not for, and we should be learning from our mistakes. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "لا يلدغ المرء من حجر مرتين." That a man should not be bitten from the same hole twice. I mean, if someone seen a snake coming out of a hole in the ground, the believer, he should not stick his hand in that hole twice, because okay, the first time you did not know, you got bit, but it's rather a believer should learn from his mistakes. Should learn from what previous experiences. So he should not put his hand in that hole again. So, brothers and sisters, Islam also, it teaches us not for us to look for impossibilities. Because sometimes when you say a critical thinking, sometimes people, there has to be a balance. Yes, we want evidences, but we shouldn't be asking for impossibilities. You know, things, evidences that are rational, evidences that is comprehensible, evidences that are realistic. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, brothers and sisters, have criticized the kuffar in the Quran when they were asking for impossibilities. They were saying, like, for instance, the kuffar, "لن نؤمن لك حتى نرى الله جهرا." Like the people of Bani Israel said, "We're not going to believe in you, O Musa, unless we see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." See, that's something that cannot be done in this world, for the creator to be part of his creation. So just because someone asks for evidences, that does not mean that whatever the request is valid. So that's that, because here we talk about, not going to extremes, not going to extremes. And the kuffar of Mecca, when they were approaching Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said, أو ترقى في السماء ولن نؤمن لرقيك حتى تنزل علينا كتابا نقرأه. They said, oh Muhammad, we're not going to believe you unless you fly in the air. Or you know what? We're not even going to believe in you unless we see a book coming from the heaven from the heaven to your hands. So when you ask for impossibilities, it's not, it have to be realistic request. Otherwise, people, when you are moving along the footsteps of doubt is not going to take you anywhere. Doubt is going to lead you to more doubt and more doubt and more doubt and more doubt. And at the end of the day, you're not going to believe in anything. Sometimes, like I said, you're not even going to believe in your existence. So it's important for us to, yes, we're for evidences, we're for facts, but things that are realistic, things that are possible, and etc. And yeah, for instance, you will see some people, like especially the atheists nowadays, they would say, well, we don't believe in anything unless it's empirical, like meaning it have it's things that went through the labs, things that have experimental evidences, or things that are felt. And again, here we're talking about things that, because here, what's the problem here and what's the mistake here? They're limiting the knowledge just from laboratories. They're limiting the knowledge just from things that are felt. If I don't see God, then He does not exist. Well, who said so? Yet, we believe in many things that we have not seen. And we talked about this before. We've seen many things we believe in many things in our life that we have not seen. We believe in many things that not necessarily that came from laboratories, and there's many examples of that. So, brothers and sisters, see, that's the problem here, when people are limiting, their evidence is based into certain pathways, or their methodologies of arriving at evidence is improper. So the question here, which make us arrive at the following stage, is that what is the right description of critical thinking? And if we want to say what is, and Islam is for critical thinking, what is the description of the correct critical thinking? Few of them. Number one, you must have evidences. Clear, very simple. If you make a statement and your evidence is what was hearsay, or I heard that in the news, it was a post on Facebook. Many newscasts have mentioned it. Okay, without without backing up those evidences with facts, then your evidences have no truth whatsoever. So the very first thing is basic. Whatever claim you have, it must have evidences. That's number one. Number two, you must have the right way to arrive at the evidence. What does it mean? But sometimes people make a claim, okay? They make a claim. And they would say, and they would say, well, the way we arrived at this by looking at this evidence, you know, and maybe the evidence that they were looking at was not correct. For instance, some people would say, well, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have ordered us to do so and so based on this hadith, so therefore it's an evidence. But you look at this hadith was possibly fabricated. You see, this hadith is weak. You know, for instance, sometimes even people would mistranslate evidences based on their liking, based on their own desire. Like for instance, when somebody say, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said, قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون, and then Allah Subhanahu wa Taala says, لكم دينكم ولي دين. You have your religion and I have mine. And they said, well, based on that ayah, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is indicating that it's okay. It's okay to have other religions, for instance, and multiple religions can be correct. No, it's saying this ayah indicates that you're free to adopt whatever you want, and I am free to adopt you want, but one of them is correct. You know, so the point here is that how people sometimes they might claim that they have evidences, but sometimes there is the way they're arriving at the idea is wrong, or the evidence itself is correct. You see, so that's number two. Number three is that you must make sure that the evidence that you are arriving at directly connect to the claim. Let me give you an example. Sometimes people make claims that would try to prove a certain fact, but the way they're connecting it was improper. Let me give you an example. Many people, for instance, will say, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not exist because of the fact that there are many disasters in this life and many miseries, and kids are dying. Just because kids are dying, and just because there are many earthquakes and disasters in this world, therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not exist. So who said that these two ideas are connected? Who said that these two ideas are connected? And so therefore, just because you bring an evidence, or just because you made your own connection between these two ideas, that does not make it right. That's my point. Just because you made this connection between these two ideas, that does not make it right. Can it be possible? Here we're talking about just to prove this evidence. Is it possible Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have created us and he's testing us in this world? Yes. Is it possible? Here, and obviously we don't agree with those claims. Is it possible Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us and he left us? You see? So meaning that just because you made that connection between these two ideas, that does not make it right. There has to be, you have to make sure that whatever connection that you're making must be justified. So this is just one idea, one example, and unfortunately many times people may bring forth these types of connections, and they're connecting ideas just because they felt like it. So this is it's important for us to make sure, not because just because you made that connection, it makes it appropriate. Okay. Number four, that making sure that not all evidences are at the same level. You know, because sometimes, يعني, even when it comes to Islam, when it comes to Islam, for instance, we take the Quran, the Hadith, you know, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ijma' al-ulama, the consensus of the scholars. This is that there is a ladder that we have to go by. For someone to say, well, the ijma' is more than the Quran, or or mess up these priorities, is improper. And same thing with life. Like, for instance, when someone goes into the court, which one is the stronger evidences? Someone heard something or someone seen something? You see, when someone sees something, it's a more of a stronger evidence. So don't try to, again, don't try to make all evidences at the same level. You see, so it's important for us to also, when you're critically thinking, make sure that all evidences have the same level. Like, for instance, if someone bring for you a way to prove something with a lower level evidence to try to make his point, and then I come along and tell you, well, this is wrong, because there is a stronger evidences that disprove this whole claim. If someone tell me, well, I heard so and so, scored a goal, then I tell him, no, I was there and I saw he did not score the goal. You see? So it's important for us that, to make sure that we understand that not all evidences are the same level. So that's number 4. Number 5 is understand the rule of no contradictions. And there has to be no contradictions. Because if someone comes to me and tell me, wallahi, why this contradict this and why this contradict, so meaning that there is something wrong with your theory or your religion. Sometimes maybe people would make a claim that something maybe appear to be contradictory, but that's why they have to seek a scholar who could explain if this is a real contradiction or not. You see, but if there is a real contradiction, then must be this idea cannot be adopted whatsoever. You see, so it's important for us that we understand that fact, that the rule of no contradictions. Simple. The last thing is that we have to also understand this. The last point when it comes to critical thinking is understand that at least in Islam, evidences, there are clear-cut evidences, and there are evidences that are inferring something. In Islam, like for something, so I could use, so I'm using the right terminology, is قطعي وظني. قطعي وظني, clear-cut evidences that have no doubt in them, and there is evidences that we call ظني, meaning that there are things that are inferred to, or something that is doubtful. Like, for instance, when someone come to us and tell us, wallahi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran said that he is not one. Where? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidh. We, the one who have preserved the book, and we're the one who revealed it. So the word we is indicative that Allah is more than one. No, we say no. So this is dhanni. This is not. This is the way you translated this ayah is based on doubt. It can be translated this way, and it can be translated another way. It's not one way to translate it this, because we have higher evidences in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. So when this takes precedence over this ayah. And so in order for us to translate the ayah, inna, I have to go back into what is have no doubt in it, the higher evidence, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. So when we say that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, how could we translate the ayah inna, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to him the inna of majesty. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to him in multitude because he is, just like a king would refer to himself. You see, and that's the way you would translate it. Okay, so you go, you translate what is doubtful based on facts, based on things that have, no other translations. You see, and so forth and so forth. This is the way you deal with قطعي and ظني. قطعي and ظني. Now, how? So we talked about the description. Now, how can I attain this level of critical thinking? We understand now the description of the description of the right way, or the correct critical thinking. Now, how can I become one? Number one is to follow the six steps that we just mentioned. That's number one. Follow the six steps that we just mentioned. Okay. Number two is that you must try to become more educated in Islam. Always learn. Always listen to something new. Always read a new book, and this have to be continuous, because otherwise you're always going to be behind. And anybody who throw any sort of small doubt on you, you might fall into their traps. Okay, that's number two. And part of that you should also learn more hadith. Like I said, we talked about this last time. Even if it was one hadith a day, it's good. Try to learn more fiqh. Pick up a book of fiqh in Arabic or in English, and try to learn how to become a better knowledgeable person. Also, it's a good technique. I believe it's a good technique that someone learn how to debate. How to make sure that you organize your thoughts, how to make sure that you prioritize your evidences, how to make sure that you present it in the right way, in a way that is clear and convincing. It's important, because I think this skill is a must for each and every youth. The art of debating, because someone might have the right idea, but he does not know how to deliver it in the right way. Okay. Third is try to read a book of higher up scholars who that are in the past, and contemporary ones. Like, for instance, like when we see scholars like Ahmad Didat, or Abdul Wahab al-Masiri. These are people who are stars in the sky, seriously. And people, and a lot of contemporary scholars, how they have taught us how to deal with contemporary issues. At the end of the day, brothers and sisters, that it's important that Islam encourage for us to look for answers. But um, but not also Islam does not encourage us to be a person who's always following questions and doubts. Because if someone keep like, oh, he does not have like a way or a curriculum that he follow to increase his knowledge in Islam, but rather he jump from one doubt to another. Because someone keeps doing that, he's actually going to leave Islam, because this is his methodology of gaining. He jumped from one doubt to another. Down, oh, I got this answer for this one. Oh, next one is no. Someone have to be. Imagine if someone tell him, look, in order for you to prevent yourself from getting sick, make sure that you eat well, exercise well, and take your vaccines. Okay, good. If someone did that, he may be immune from a lot of infection and diseases. Versus someone who said, "Wallahi, no, I don't want to take vaccines. I don't want to eat well. I don't want to exercise. I'm just going to jump around." He became, he kept going around, and he got infected with the flu. Okay, and then he became immune to that flu, and then he got infected again, and then he became immune to that flu, and he just keep getting infected. Eventually, he's going to die. Versus someone who's self-protecting himself. The immunity is from inside, rather than he's getting infected from the outside. So it's important for you to make sure that you have internal defenses, rather than you being thrown around from the outside. Okay, so this is important for us to think about this, brothers and sisters, and for us to go into to move around from the extremes of doubt. It's important for us to have some doubt. Any new ideas, yes, doubt. But for us, and once that idea presents itself, with whether it's negatives and positives, then we evaluate. But someone, when he is all his madhab is doubt, he's always going to be in doubt and doubt and doubt and doubt, and he's going to be doubting each and everything. Because if I want to utilize this, I could say, well, I don't believe I exist. Maybe I'm just dreaming, by the fact I am just dreaming right now, and in my dream I'm giving this lecture. I could be of that sort. Nothing is real. So that's, and people, unfortunately, some people believe in that. So it's important for us to have some doubt, but unfortunately, people sometimes take it into extremes, and this is wrong in itself. Okay, and the whole point of critical thinking is what? Just for us to doubt everything? No, the whole point of critical thinking, so we could. This is our entrance into knowledge. The whole point of critical thinking, this is the way we get the correct knowledge. So the end of the road is what? Knowledge. We become more knowledgeable, more aware. Not just in itself. The goal is not in itself. The goal is how to arrive at knowledge. And that's the point here, brothers and sisters. And again, alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have showed us in the Quran explicit evidences of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, and how Islam is correct, and there's there's a whole series that I have given in the internet that talks about how to approve these things. And alhamdulillah, I mean, we have no doubt of that whatsoever. Jazakumullah khair. I hope this is beneficial for all of you. I hope that you have learned something at the end of the day. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us. جزاكم الله خير لاستماعكم سبحانك وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين يعملون الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.